me shelter. Simple life is all we want to live. Give me food, give me clothes, give me love, and give me shelter. Yeah.
So welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the We2R Liberians Movement Platform, your distinct and dynamic platform that speaks to and for the masses. We are not in the business of manufacturing players, pimps, and hustlers. Rather, we're in the business of changing, revolutionizing the thought process of our people, not only in Liberia, but even around the world. Again, this is your one and only platform, the platform that speaks to and for the masses. We are not in the business of manufacturing players, pimps, and hustlers. Rather, we're in the business of changing, revolutionizing the thought process of our people, not only in Liberia, but even around the world. Again, I want to say good evening, my fellow Liberians, and welcome to another episode of the We2R Liberians Movement. I'm your host, as usual, Ayiti Williams. Today, we are tackling a matter that weighs heavily on our hearts, the blatant disregard for the rule of law in Liberia. As we all can see, just 2 days ago, we saw an appalling display of brutality when police officers savagely beat an army official. This is yet another shocking incident that highlights the ever deepening crisis of lawlessness, in our country. And so tonight we want to kind of just bring this to the forefront so we could talk about it. It is especially concerning that under the current leadership of President Joseph Boakai, there seems to be no tangible response or accountability for these incidents. So the We2 movement wants to actually just talk about this, bring this to the forefront, and see how we all can kind of dialogue. We can have a conversation. If not, we dialogue. Whether it's the violent robbing of citizens a few months ago or police brutality now, the citizens of Liberia are being left to bear the consequences of a leadership that is feeling its duty to protect the people and uphold the rule of law. So I believe we must ask ourselves, what's happening to our justice system? A couple questions I have here. Where is the protection of our rights? And maybe we can add another question by saying, more importantly, the one question that I want to add here is maybe we all can kind of try to talk about it. I'm not even sure the state of affair of the country. What would you say is the state of affairs of the country now? That's something that we all need to kind of think about. We will discuss also the recent incidents of police brutality. Like I said, the mob violence we've seen in our streets, and what must be done to ensure justice for everyone, or every Liberian citizen is adhered to. So now, as we begin our conversation tonight, I want to first and foremost, hear from you. If you're listening, the Liberian people, what do we think about the state of the justice system? Is Liberia heading in the right direction? And so join me as we reflect, as we discuss and demand change. It's so important that we, all must be involved, especially around this particular time where, people find themselves living in this, we've talked about it from time to time. Abject poverty is is like one of the main component, but, it's far back, a couple of shows that I've had. I think from a more moral perspective, I did mention that is an African proverb that I took this from. It takes a village to raise a child, and if the village is crazy, that village will produce crazy children. I think there's a number of things that we need to address here. And even if we should take it from the good book that says that raise a child in the way that he or she would grow and will not depart. So I thought to bring again to the forefront some main cardinal points that we need to look at. The brutality of police against army officials. What does it, or what does this particular incident, what does it say about the current state of affairs? Law enforcement in Liberia, the government enactment or inaction. Why is the leadership of President Boakai failing to address these ongoing abuses? Is the current government's lack of response a sign of weakness or complacency? What do you think of it? I would like to hear from the citizens and maybe officials who are also citizens of the country. Citizens are being mobbed. I think it was like 2 months ago. There was another, if not a guy, maybe it was two individuals who were mobbed. I believe around the 72nd area. They were being stoned to death. I don't know what actually came from that incident. I don't know how that incident was addressed. I don't know the outcome. That's something that we have to also address. And like I said, in recent months, we've seen citizens become victims of mob violence with no one held accountable. How does this contribute to the erosion of trust in the justice system? I want us to kind of talk about it. If you're not watching this live, hopefully you'll go back. And if you watch this, maybe it's something to kind of sit down and think about. Another question I want to ask you is, what is the role of the international community with Liberia's persistent struggle with justice? What role should the international community, bring here to the forefront so that this country, Liberia, that has been around for so long, it seems like we've been left alone, and I think the leadership should rise up to the occasion, rise up to address this issue or these issues in timely manner. But it almost seemed like these people have been left alone. There's no redress. People are not held accountable, and especially if you have law enforcement officers, to come up and start fights. What example are they setting? Now, in my opinion, I think the path to rebuilding Liberia's justice system is something that we really need to look. What step must be taken to restore the rule of law? That's something that's already, I believe strongly that they already know. And to ensure that every citizen, no matter their status, is treated with fairness and dignity for the most part. So, some of the questions that I have for the citizens, because tonight is just going to be a pre-show. I was hoping to have, I'll just say a contributor or a panelist on the show so that we could kind of talk about this. How do you feel as a Liberian, about the recent police brutality against an army official or army officer? What does this say about the state of the law, enforcement in Liberia? Those are questions that I'm going to, just leave. Hopefully when you come across the video, you can watch and kind of think about. And hopefully something we will all eventually kind of talk about. Next question I have here is, do you believe the current government under President Joseph Boakai is doing enough to protect citizens from violence and abuse? Now, I'll say why or why not. Next question I have, what step should be taken to hold those responsible for mob violence and police brutality accountability? the next question I have, those questions we can answer if I had contributors. How do you think Liberia can restore public trust in its justice system, given the increasing violence and impunity? And we know that, and I mean, um, and it's so apparent because if you're in leadership and you have some kind of position, you're connected to a particular political party or a regime. I think a lot of times people get away with stuff. People get away with, uh, crimes that they commit. But in this case, a government that came to power on grounds that they were going to rescue a country, a country that was falling so deep, and you have the citizens come back and then elect a government on the ground where they promised to rescue country, but to see the country going in this manner, I think is so troubling. Is really mind bothering, and so just talking the talk does not really say anything. Hopefully, we can begin to enact put some measure in place that will address these issues. And I don't want to jump the gun, but there's a strategy here. I've been talking to a few folks, and hopefully they'll develop those strategies to see how we can address some of the issues. A few months from now, maybe a month or a couple of weeks from now, we'll have another government officials who will be coming, or government official who will be coming to host a town hall meetings. And these are people, I would just say, hopefully, I think that the vice president should be in the States here next month. I saw the flyer. I'm not even sure what he's going to be talking about, but hey, I wanna stick to the topic here tonight. Our topic for the night is the erosion of rule of law in Liberia, and this is the call for justice and accountability. That's something that we really need to address because the country actually went through uh, years of civil war, and I thought that was a perfect opportunity for uh, Joseph Boakai, who served government for many years and will come to power with his years of experience to make a difference. Unfortunately, we see that our country continue to go down the pit. So, in your opinion, what role should the international community play in addressing the breakdown of law and order in Liberia? These are issues that I think we, we definitely need to talk about. We need to address. And it's sad. I know this one issue actually kind of caught the attention of a lot of folks because, and we should not. I don't think because a lot of times when these things happen, we look at it from a political standpoint. But what's responsible for for you know grooming? And it goes back to the question of what it means to be a Liberian, because if you will be enlisted in as a law enforcement officer, or as an army personnel, not knowing your role, your responsibility, and to engage or be involved in such an act speaks to the fact that you know either those law enforcement officer do not understand their function, or maybe army personnel also do not understand their roles and responsibility. So, and that's why I was using, because I come to the platform from a more the moral standpoint, where again I said from the onset of the show that it takes a village to raise a child, and if the village is crazy, the village will certainly produce crazy children. So, if we're to roll back the hand of time, going from where's government to the Balkans regime, uh, a lot has happened and continue to happen. I think what happened yesterday is really it sends out uh, bad signals for us and for the country at large. And if this is not addressed, um, I mean, it shows that one would say, are you attacking the government, or are you being personal? But I mean, to an extent, not being personal, but why is it that we'll have a government who will come to power, would not be proactive in addressing these issues? Yesterday, I was listening to the Spoon Talk, and I heard, I believe, former defense minister. Um, I heard him speak, and I think he came off as being more political because of some personal interest. And if this country would be better, it means that we'll have to put aside our own selfish, uh, uh, you know, whatever it is that we think is going to benefit us, and that has to do with self-aggrandizement. We need to actually be truthful. We need to be truthful to what we say on paper, and it has been so frequent that I have colleagues of mine, friends of mine, writing on Facebook, and some of the issues that they've been writing, I think, speaks to just some of the things that we're saying here, because seriously, the rule of law in Liberia is completely uh, has been completely, I would say, or is being eroded. There's no rule of law. You ask the question, what's happening to those who are in leadership? Particularly one would say, but why are you trying to attack government? Because it is the government's responsibility when these things happen, when you have uh, infractions in the country. They should be addressed in a timely manner. There have been many issues that have occurred where government has been slow, has not been proactive, it's not been able to address them in timely manner. So we just wanted to come up while we get up with some of the topics that we have here to address uh, some of these issues. So again, uh, as we begin this conversation, I want to really hear from, even if you're not responding tonight, maybe you watch this, you can send out a post or something. I want to hear from Liberian people. What's your view? What do you think about the state of the justice system in Liberia, the state of our justice system? It's just Liberia heading in the right direction. Obviously, Liberia is not heading in the right direction, because what's happening, the signal that that's been sent out to the citizens, to you know foreign investors, even the citizens domestically, it creates fears, create some level of hostility, creates a hostile environment, and you cannot have our country uh, in such a I would just say it's more like we're still fighting some civil war, and so we need to definitely address it. So if you have tuned in, you're watching the We2R Liberians Movement platform, your distinct economic platform that speaks to and for the masses. We are not in the business of manufacturing players, pimps, and hustlers. What we're trying to talk about here tonight is just the recent issue that occurred, that, speaks to the core that our justice system is being eroded. Our rule of law is there's some erosion of the rule of law. And this calls for an urgent, I'll say justice and accountability. Why would we have our country in you know, uh, such condition? If it's not this, it's that. Um, I mean, there's no redress. Um, Again, I'm going to go ahead and look at these main points that we highlighted, and we want to put out there. Hopefully, our viewers can kind of look at. Again, I'm going to go over these questions. The police, the brutality of police against an army official. What does this incident say about the current state of affairs? Of course, if police officer will get into fights with law enforcement, I don't know the nature of the case. I kind of try to watch the video. We2 movement is not really about the politics in Liberia, but we're about just the mindset. Our country, like we say, the quality of persons that the country has produced is responsible for what's happening. And until we can go down to foundation, we can go down to the nitty gritty to address these issues. I think we will continue to find ourselves in these problems. And that would take me to what we will be talking about soon, as we close here. We're definitely at a crossroad. People are at a crossroad. We must decide if we are going to allow the erosion of the fundamental rights to continue. This is not something that we want to continue to see. And like I say, it creates some level of hostility amongst our people. So the ordinary man will start thinking, if the police officers, police officers attacking another law enforcement or army personnel, which of course we do not have substantial evidence as to why it's happening or why it happened. But yet it's still one message is being sent out there, or why is this happening? Together we can all, rebuild this country. But to see our country continue to go down this path is really, really sad. It's really, really sad. This is something that we must address. So if you have tuned in, as you can see on screen, we have an exciting topic here tonight about what's unfolding in the country, even though it happened a day ago. The erosion of rule of law in Liberia, call for justice and accountability. I think this is something that we have been talking about from time to time. And if we can take it back even to the Wiz regime, we saw what happened. Group of auditors were killed. The issue of the young man who were also killed. There has been a number of killing in the country, and there hasn't been any redress. People are not being held accountable, and now we will watch and see what's going to happen with this situation. We know for a fact here that since this has to do with law enforcement officers and against army personnel, we'll see what will happen. Because if citizens, in fact, you see citizens have been mobbed, where one citizen was stoned one to death. People would stay and watch. What kind of country is this country? What kind of country do we have where we don't care about one another? We don't care about ourselves. And I think it has to do with, this is an identity problem. And then it goes back again to ask the question that we're going to be asking here at some point in time, what it means to be a Liberian. It's being a Liberian, does it really mean to living in a life where we are divisive, where we're divided, where we're not united, where we're not free, free to live, free to have the right to life, free to have the right to freedom in its totality. Because if the people who are supposed to protect the citizens are fighting amongst themselves, then what would the people do? So it means that I think what it sends out here, one would say, don't try to make this politic or make this political, but there's no way we cannot, say that government is responsible. Because if the government would step in when we have issues of such magnitude to quickly and proactively address them, but they allow them. I know that, man. For example, the issue that occurred with the with AB Kroma and the Fadiga, one of the Fadigas, we saw how long that took. We think that, or I would think that people when these issues occur, it should be actually addressed in a timely manner, and addressed such that you know the people will see and know that we mean business. But if we continue to operate where we're operating, business as usual, it's more like doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. But I just wanted to throw, a few questions out there, as we close up on this. But I think if we go back to answer the questions as to what it means to be a true Liberian, what it means to know our identity, who we are as a people, what I mean, then again, we will go back to the African proverb that states that it takes a village to raise a child. Liberia, we've not done a good job. We have not done a pretty good. We have not done a decent job. We're divisive. We're not about uplifting the country. We're about ourselves, and so because of that, people would do whatever they want to do at the expense of the masses. But we are hoping that government will step in the right, um, be it the police, those who are in police, I guess Gregory and defense minister, or those who are responsible for the army will step in and make sure that some of these questions that we're asking, they can address these issues in a timely manner. How do we go back to a country where the constant chaos, constant threats, insecurity, and you have a group of people, our people are stuck. They don't have anywhere to go. This is what, in fact, they know. Violence is, violence is the order of the day. Chaos is the order of the day. Uh, orderly conduct is the order of the day. There's no system. So people are complicit. They think that is a way of life. So we must answer these questions. How do you feel about the recent police brutality against an army official? I don't care, regardless of what the situation was. There should have been some, measure taken. If these law enforcement officers are trained, they're professional, and there should be a way to handle the situation. But to be out there in the street, brutally beating a person, especially when that person is a uniform officer, I mean, it sends out bad signal. Again, what does this say about the state of law enforcement in Liberia? They're not professionals. One would say, "Oh, don't jump the gun, don't speak that," but the way they act. And yesterday, when Brian Samako was being asked, he said that, "Oh no, he has confidence in that." Um, there's an ordinary saying that says that it takes one apple to spoil the whole bag of apple. So now, hopefully, this issue is addressed, and people will be held accountable. They'll get down to the root cause, so that um, this one country, can. I just don't have faith in this government for some reason. I just don't have faith in this government, and so that's why we want people to come to the platform so that we can begin to design. But we're working on a few things here, and I know I've been making a lot of shorts with the topic that's we're coming up with a series to answer the questions as to what it means to be a Liberian. Hopefully, if we can get into the nitty gritty, and I think the reason why Liberia continued to find herself in this situation, because the country itself was founded on contradiction, because a group of people who claim that they had gotten their freedom and will establish a country that, the root word Liberia comes from the root word liberty. Liberty means to be free, but yet we suppress a group of people that were already there. And this is why we find ourselves in the situation that we. So we've not really trained our people. Who's the police officer? Who's in the army? Where are those people coming from? They're doing good background check. What's the core value? What do they stand for? Because regardless, I wouldn't hit people, anyone. Especially after you've gone through those rigorous training to be police officer, to be an army personnel. You know what I mean? What mess now? What can you tell the 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 ordinary citizens who are not uniformed? You know what I mean? What can you tell them? You know. And then the next question that I have is: do you believe the current government under Joseph Boakai is doing enough to protect the citizens? I don't think so. I don't think our citizens have been protected, and the reason why I say so, if people, let's the issue that occurred yesterday is one, but then let's go back to several months ago, where I saw a guy being stoned by several individuals almost to death, and people were passing by. We're not saying because if the police are not in proximity, then that's a whole different situation. But what happens after the fact and police come on the scene? What lesson are we setting? What example are we setting so that the people who maybe will be in that community, those who committed the act, anyone in fact who will be in that, when we start to set standards and put in place, drastic measure and reprimand people, then hopefully our country will be better. And so if you're tuning, you're watching the We2R Liberians Movement. Our topic for tonight, the erosion of rule of law in Liberia, calls for justice and accountability. We need accountability. You know what I mean? And every time you have these conversations, they'll say that the people are professional, the laws are on the books. So what laws on the book? So if you have laws that people are not honoring, people are not adhering to, with ordinary man, we just say you got laws, and the people we're not abide by your laws. So what kind of, they're not obeying your laws? Would you call that a law? The laws are supposed to be enforced. The reason why in other countries around the world, we use America as an example. Why when you see you're driving and then you see a sign that says "Do not enter." I don't care what happened. If you were driving alone and if no one, you don't see a law enforcement officer, because you know that if you go through that "Do not enter" sign, and you know what's going to happen, you will be held accountable. You'll be reprimanded. Maybe if you're not careful, you might lose your driver's license, or something might happen. So we want to make sure that those issues are being addressed, and we can put into place drastic measures. People are held accountable for the wrongdoings. The people who are supposed to protect us, they're fighting amongst themselves. The people who are supposed to be there to enforce the law will be fighting all over the place in front of the ordinary citizens that they're supposed to be protecting. So we want to know what step now should be taken to hold those responsible for mob violence. People go around, throw stones at people, kill people, so to speak, and no one says anything. It happens today. You see bodies all over the place, but no one says anything. So I have another question here. How do you think Liberia can restore public trust? There's a lot to be done. Same way we're saying it. Maybe it starts from the top, and then also goes down. If we start training, we need the people that we are enlisting into those police officers. I'm not going to point fingers, but I would assume that some of these people were rebels. Maybe some of those people are, you know, ex-rebels. Uh, I don't know where they got their training from. Some of them. We're not just gonna place everyone in the same category, but I strongly believe that if the police force, uh, the prerequisite to become a police officer in Liberia, you'll have to go through some scrutiny, background check and things of that nature. Hopefully, it'll help. Because I don't know. I've not seen that anywhere. I'm pretty sure that laws on the book that would say a police officer might be given the right to arrest an army personnel, because the army personnel, I would say, probably not supposed to be out. If you're in the street, uh, and if you're in violation of any of the laws, I think it should be done in a way that wouldn't create chaos. And you have citizens were there watching, children were there watching. Uh, is this the kind of society we want? This the kind of country that we want? We want a country that will be safe, a country that will, the citizens will put their post confidence, put their trust, because the Oma who's selling down Waterside, the Oma who's in Ghanarsville Junction, who will witness such an event or an occurrence, or to go and see something like that happen, she will be afraid to be out there. And even the children that may have been children walking from school, or because you have a lot of kids who are in the streets selling. They watch that. A group of people who were there, they watched it. What message does it send out? You know. Now, lastly, I have this and say, in your opinion, what role should the international community play in addressing the breakdown of law in order in Liberia? I think, my perspective now, that we need to really work on ourselves, because for too long we have looked to the outside world for our salvation, and that's why I was reading a post from one of my compatriots today, and I agree with him strongly with the recent transition, Joe Biden to Donald Trump. Some of the policy, where people would say, "How can you even say that?" Aid, from the United States to Liberia and other African countries, that those aids now they're gonna just stop it. And I think it's important, it's good in a way. One would say, why would you say that? Why is it that God has given us everything that we need to survive, to be Africa has everything that she needs to thrive, to be better, and what I mean, to 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 do exceedingly above what we ourselves expect, because everything that we want has been provided, has been given to us. And for us to continuously put ourselves in a position where we would be beggars rather than, producers, rather than people who would think for ourselves, and rather than being creative, speaks to the fact that uh, we we're just dependent. We're not independent, and so we're dependent. Then we must just give ourselves to maybe another country to run the affairs of Liberia, because I can tell you with equivocation that the country, ever since Charles Taylor, I don't know if because that regime I never really saw as a legitimate one. Uh, Taylor could have been the one, but now I'm just saying this to say that with everything that we have, why should we be looking to the outside world for our salvation? And because of that, because we don't have a leader a visionary leader who has the country at heart, who wants to make sure that the country thrive, be better to stay on its own. Now we continue to have our country in this state of affairs. And so, in closing tonight, I want to pivot a little bit and talk about the national kick, you know, a bit of reality for Liberians. Because truthfully, that was one aspect, that was one thing that we talk about. But we're to look at the national kick now, a bit of, I would say, reality, because you only have a few group of people, And so as we come to a close of tonight's, the We2R Movement Podcast, we find ourselves reflecting on the harsh reality that is, or the harsh truth. Why many of our fellow Liberians continue to suffer in deep poverty. You have our leaders, from the House of Representatives to the Senate, and even the president and his cabinet are living lives, of luxury. They're enjoying themselves, feasting on what we have come to call the national cake. And it's true. Because if you think about the salary from the president to the vice president to representative, and every time I watch, I have the privilege, the opportunity to watch one of those Spoon episodes, and the House or wherever, and you see these lawmakers from the representative to the outgoing Speaker of the House to the incoming. I kind of peep something that was sent by another friend, and to look at those budgets and to see how they break it down at the expense of the people. Security officer for a representative or senator, what they get, their allowances, and but yeah, people don't care about the masses, and this creates a major divide. So this gap between the political elite and the everyday Liberian has never been more pronounced. I think it's so clear. The people are suffering. They're suffering from the skyrocketing poverty, lack of opportunity, and just the basic needs of the human right. Yes, those fools that call themselves representatives, senators, to the vice president, and not to be disrespectful, but it's just a fact. Those are the top of the food chain. They continue to enjoy themselves on the nation's resources, leaving little or nothing to those who really need it the most. The people are hungry. People are hungry. Even though our topic for tonight, we say, the erosion of the rule of law in Liberia, a call for justice and accountability. So we started out just talking about the issue of police officers in fight with I would just say brutally mercifully beating an army personnel. So then we pivot to this national kick issue, which bitter reality for Liberians. I just want to close on that note. This is not just an economic issue. It's not. It's seriously a moral issue. It's a betrayal. Betrayal of the trust of the ordinary people that were placed in these people to lead them. A betrayal of the very promise of democracy. The right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And that's why one of the reasons why we'll continue to come up here to do this, because it's almost, I'm going almost 45, 50 minutes. I want us to highlight this because election is coming, and these people you call your leaders will come back to you, talk about it, want you to vote for them. But they're treating you unfair, unkindly, and maybe you don't know. They'll come back around election 2029 is not far,
You have to be prepared now. Watch some of these lives or these videos that here to educate you, so that when the time comes, you're already prepared. You're ready. You're not gonna give your vote to somebody who will give you $30. You're not gonna get one day at the top of the food chain. They're eating everything. I'm finding a way to so that my ordinary people can understand. You know, we the people have to continue to watch as corruption, fester, as lawmakers and government officials, amass wealth for themselves, at the expense of you. When they say the masses, man, fatura yo. Back in the days, even the old man who was selling on potato green, people were going to buy and were sending the children to good schools. I know a friend of mine who actually mom sold in the market. She sold her coal, she sold her pepper, and the son went to CWA, went to good school, quality education got. Now, why it's true that there was some kind of elite class, but everybody could afford in a way. Why is it now that we find ourselves in such a situation where, you can only have one group of people enjoy it. And these people are not being held accountable. They never say anything positive. We talked about blueprint the last time. We don't want to divert. We're talking about accountability. We're talking about the erosion of rule of law. They have no regard for the rule of law. And so we want to constantly, address this issue on our platform. Meanwhile, the everyday people faces hardship, unemployment, lack of healthcare, inadequate education. You know what I mean? Then you talk about the infrastructure that's crumbling, bad shape. The national cake is too often devoured by only they eat it. They eat it. They use it for the girlfriends. They buy luxury. They buy nice cars. They will come back again. So we will become here from time to time to give you a hint so y'all can know. You don't need to vote for these people. And that's why for Liberia to be better, as these people continue to eat everything that they're eating, we will have to be the ones to make the sacrifice. I always use Nelson Mandela as an example. 27 years he did in prison. So how many years are we willing to give? You know what I mean? To say, oh, I want it now. They can't continue to do that. We need to address the issue. We need to put some sense in your head. They're not doing you any good when it comes to you. It take few individuals in the community, take your children. They say this to pay your children tuition. That's not the responsibility. What we need is for them to build better schools. If we build better schools, we have good policies, good laws that will ensure that everybody go to the school, get good quality education, then we don't have to worry. Government schools were doing well back in the day. The same thing. Accountability, you know what I mean? Complete disregard for the rule of law. So people are misappropriating all these funds at the expense of the same people. Because the money, they're not rich. They're stealing. They're not rich people. Don't see them and bow down. Go see them, walk, keep your head up, and walk with your head high. Again, like I said, back in the days, the Omaya was selling your food for market. And I had classmates who went to school together. Today, some of your children are doing very well. This is what we want, so that everybody will be able to. But there's disregard for this rule of law where these people are eating everything. What kind of country behavior is that? Everything you want is personal advancement. You know what I mean? Self-aggrandizement, they book people call it. And they fail to realize, what these people fail to realize is that personal advancement without any collective advancement, I will bring it up my ordinary people, means nothing in life. You can go acquire all the degree. You acquire all the accolades. You put all the degree on the wall. The degree that you put on the wall It's more like a social contract. But on the flip side, the reason why they behave in the way they behave in the first place, a lot of them didn't even go to school properly. So because they took the shortcut to get to where they are. So they don't know the value, you know what I mean? To understand that when you arrive, when you get to that place now, you must put humanity first. You must put people first. Because everything that you require is so that the people that are behind you will come up. It to make the country better. It to make the world better. So that we can have good rules that we just talk about. You know? So again, as we close, I want us to reflect on the questions that I posted. But let me be clear, this cannot continue. We cannot sit, me, idly and by and why our future is so far, the benefit of a select few. No, it's not supposed to be that way. Not only a few people. It's time for a change. It's time for a government that is held accountable. You know what I mean? This government must be held accountable for what's unfolding. A government that puts the need of a citizen above the comfort of the few is not, you know what I mean, we we want. So I urge each and every one of you listening to this show, to ask yourself, what kind of Liberia do we want for our children? It's the real question. You know what I mean? In Liberia, where only a handful of people enjoy the fruit of our labor, that's not the kind of Liberia that we want. Or a Liberia where, every citizen, regardless of their background, has a chance to thrive. And, most time I listen to Obama, everyone should have a seat at the table. And maybe they don't know their roles, their function, because, I was on the show months back before we the election. What is the job of a president? If they understand that the president must understand that your job is a matter of public policy. It's a matter of public policy. It's a job where you must advocate for policy that will generate opportunity for every single individual, not just one. Everybody should have good health care, safe environment where our children will not grow, to become drug addicts and things like that. Everyone should have a seat at the table. Everyone should enjoy this country. Not one group of people. So tonight I leave you with the challenge. The challenge now: demand better. We must demand better. Demand accountability. Demand that uh, the leaders of this country understand that they are a public servant, not kings. They're not kings. They're a public servant. Their wealth should reflect the work they put in for the betterment of Liberia, not the exploitation of a citizen. You know what I mean? So don't see yourself as a king. Because now you become representative, or you become a president, or you're a senator, and all you're about yourself. All the laws that these people make, it's all for themselves. The salaries are higher than salaries of even, I would say, senators here in America. Um, it's a shame. So uh, the fight for change begins with us. It starts with our voices, our actions, and our commitment to equality, and for a Liberia that works for all. I want to say good night. Thank you very much for watching. Again, this is the We2R Liberians Movement. As usual, I'm your host, Ayiti Williams. Thank you for viewing. But I would like to conclude by stating that we're working on our series with the topic, what it means to be a Liberian. We will have professionals. We'll have anthropologists, historians, cultural commentators will be coming to our platform to address these issues. We believe that we can change the mindset. Again, like we say, the We2 movement is not just a way of life. It's not just a community. It's actually, is a way of life. So, I mean, we're deeply rooted in showing that everyone has the right to a good life, a right to liberty, right to reach their full potential. Again, thank you very much for watching. Thank you for tuning in. This is the We2R Liberians Movement, close to an hour. Just been talking. Thank you very much for tuning in. I look forward to an exciting show here. Again, thank you very much for watching. You have a great night. Bye.
Simple life. It's all we want to live. Give me food, give me clothes, give me love, and give me shelter.